John Scott, Jonathan Acosta, Nate Mills here at St. John Fisher University in Pittsford. Raining all day for the first day of Bills training camp. I'm wearing sandals. I'm not going to show you, but my feet are soaking wet, and I said, forget about it. They said I'm crazy for it, but hey, drastic times call for drastic measures. This is my 13th training camp here up at Fisher. I've never seen a day like this, and Psycho Joe Brady's like, yeah, I like this. This is what I wanted.
Yeah, it was raining literally from the moment we got here, and very convenient for the players on the field, right? It stopped raining when they started doing the team drills, and we had already suffered through the pain of getting rained on the whole morning, right? Like, my feet still feel miserable. I can't wait to maybe not change it to sandals like you are, but certainly change it to new socks. But sort of the mentality from Joe Brady, right? Like, rain or shine, early or late. The big saying that he kept saying, and Josh Allen, put the football down. That seems like that's going to be a motto for this team. Put the ball down and play anywhere, anytime, and that's certainly the energy that they came out with on this day.
I like, not only is he embracing the rain, he said, good, I want this. The first challenge as a first-year head coach, I mean, right out the gates, you're getting something to work with this team. How do they respond? And honestly, there was a lot of flashes on defense and on offense. I looked at a lot of the defensive side of the ball today. But a lot of guys impressed me so far on day one with a lot of adversity going on behind us, right?
Yeah, they were doing some punts. They didn't look great because of the weather. We saw guys not wearing gloves. They took the gloves off, took the visors off, maybe some dropped passes. It was certainly battling adversity here. Again, day one, no pads. It's usually a more low-key type of thing, and that's what you get with some added adversity with the elements here. I want to start with Brady, though, because the earlier practice time. Sean McDermott's, they were at 9:45 in the morning. These are going to be 8:30 in the morning. Joe Brady says, like, I just want to get the day going, maximize our time, not push dinner any later. So that's one of the changes. They're here a little bit shorter, only to the end of next week. And then you're just hearing the way guys talk about Brady and seeing him out there, and we continue to gain information about how he's going to be as this team's head coach.
I think the big philosophy with this team, right, is that it's not a wholesale change, but enough change to where the team feels different, right? So what's the same? The energy level that Joe Brady brings. Now it's just, instead of in an offensive coordinator role, as a head coach, more, I guess, reach to the rest of the team, right? But enough things that are different. That I think the main thing that stuck out to me was what Josh Allen said, that things feel different. It's a new team. And considering they didn't get to where they want to go in previous seasons, something needed to change. So he thought it was prudent for Joe Brady as the team's new head coach to have things feel different this year. And I completely agree with him, because what the saying that happens a lot is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Sean McDermott was not a bad coach, but I think a lot of people in and around the organization and fans felt something needed to change, because this is a Bills team that's been knocking on the door for so long. In order to get over the hump, they had to do something different. They make the change at head coach. So Joe Brady can't just come in and say, hey, I'm replacing Sean McDermott, but I'm going to do everything the same as him, because then you can't really expect different results. So it's him finding that balance of tweaking enough things so that the team feels that this is a new team, a new roster, a new vision for this year, but also doing enough of the continuity, enough of the same things that's helped this team be successful and be amongst the teams in the divisional round, in the conference championship round in previous seasons as well.
And I think Joe Brady represents something, too, in the entire National Football League, a trend, if you will, with head coaches. Guys that are a little more relatable with their players. You could tell when different position groups were in their own breakout sessions, in their own huddles. There's just more pep in the step. It's a lot lighter. It's a lot freer, to use some terms that players have used during the spring. And again, it's not a diss on Sean McDermott. You know, he kind of had his own style. But Joe Brady represents the modern NFL, in my opinion. He's a guy who's going to be popping the bubble gum and slapping guys on the back and saying, what's up, let's get after it today. And you could feel that today, even with the music, just little stuff like that. A lot more younger vibes on this team, and I think represents the entire league, honestly.
I don't think we would have seen the Sean McDermott big bucket hat here during the rain either. Here, another departure of things from the past. Let's start on offense with some observations, and obviously everyone mostly is focused on the connection and the continued building of rapport between Josh Allen and DJ Moore. Allen admitting, hey, it's not where it needs to be yet, but it is encouraging, some of the signs, taking it from the spring, what we saw in minicamp, OTAs, and even here out the gate in training camp.
Well, and I think you just quickly see the skill set that DJ Moore has and the athleticism that he brings and sort of the polished wide receiver that he has, especially when you juxtapose that with some of the other wide receivers on this Bills roster, right? So one of the plays I think of camp that stood out to me was Allen connecting with Moore on an out route and Moore kind of sliding down and making the catch. Again, something that's not a given considering the conditions, a wet ball. We talked about wide receivers, a few of them going with no gloves in order to have maybe a better grip on the ball. I thought it was a nice catch from DJ Moore. And that's just one of the signs, right? No one's going to have a perfect camp on day one, but we want to see players stack nice plays over nice plays over nice plays, and then nice plays become nice drives become nice days. I think for another wide receiver, Keon Coleman, he started the day not in the best of shape, but a drop, I believe, on the very first play of 7-on-7, if not the second play. Allen coming right back to him. And I think that's a big moment in terms of leadership for the quarterback because he knows how important of a camp this is for Keon Coleman, how important this is of a year for Keon Coleman. The last thing you want is his confidence being in rough shape on day one. So to come right back to him, get him a target, get him a completion, a nice completion, to sort of get him back to equilibrium, back to zero, I think was very important for a guy like Keon Coleman that is one of the talking points of training camp at this point.
And again, I think something with training camp too, early on especially, is that we're not seeing guys in full pads quite yet. Yeah. Guys are completely different players when they strap on those shoulder pads. And a guy that I'm excited to see, we've seen his production already, but just returning this year to camp, is Cook at running back. He looks so shifty just on those reps that we saw today. The explosiveness looked like it never left. I mean, not that it did in any way, but he is going to be another dynamic part of this offense that has always been there and something that Josh Allen knows he has in his back pocket. Just as important as those targets you guys are talking about is going to be James Cook in that backfield. And I'll tell you, he looked explosive. He puts that foot down, and he's gone, guys.
The thing with Keon Coleman, we've seen him be great out here. I mean, Brandon Beane was the first to tell you anytime he possibly can that there was criticism against Keon Coleman. I mean, look what he can do in training camp. We've seen it. He just needs to carry it over into the regular season. So there's really nothing out here for me, and I think I'm going to say for you, that you see or hear about from here at Fisher, back in Orchard Park, and even through the preseason. You got to see it in the games consistently before we start turning the page towards, oh, we're seeing a better version of Keon Coleman. Of course, there's the left guard competition, no pads, so you really can't evaluate that between Alec Anderson and Austin Corbett here. So I think that's right now, day one, that's as far as you're going to get on the offensive side. Defense, man, you can look at everything with pads, without pads on, because it's a complete scheme change from the 4-3 to the 3-4. And Brandon Beane actually saying the group up front is really where he's focused in on to see you have some new pieces. You also have guys returning that are in new sort of roles here as well. Yeah. I think, again, whether it's in pads or out of pads, you can learn a lot, and we continue to get information on how this group is going to form.
And I thought that was very eye-opening because Brandon Beane, he was asked, what position battle are you most looking forward to watching? He can go anywhere on the roster. And I think the idea that he's focusing on that defensive front, I think is where a lot of people's minds go because, yeah, with fantasy football and everything, you can look at wide receiver, the tight ends, just the pass catchers for Josh Allen. But I think what's going to make the biggest difference for this team is defensively. That's why there's the whole scheme change. That's why they bring in Jim Leonard. That's why they continue to address it high up in the draft with getting a guy like TJ Parker. They need to see more out of this defense. So with Ed Oliver, what do you see out of him in a new scheme? When he's been healthy recently in recent seasons, he's been very productive. Can this new scheme bring out of him? But where I have my eyes on, and I think where Brandon Beane has his eyes on too, is the other guys up front. Your TJ Sanders, your Deion Walker, your Dwayne Carter. How do they fit into the scheme? Brandon Beane even said, does a guy like Deion Walker fit more as a nose tackle? Does he fit more as, I believe it was the 4-eye, another position on that defensive front? Not where they're the outside linebackers like Bradley Chubb or like Greg Rousseau, but specifically up on that 3 part of the 3-4, right? And there's going to be some mixing and matching, right? We see even a guy like Dwayne Carter getting in there early on in the team drills and everything. A guy who I think maybe some of us think is not a guarantee that he's on this roster, right? So what does this shuffling look like? Who is able to elevate themselves And again, we're going to get more of an idea of that when the pads come on, but at least, like you mentioned, we start to get some early signs of when we see guys and how much we see them in these early days of camp.
Well, back to the beginning, you were saying that defense is one of the things to maybe tinker. I think that may be the reason why the Bills haven't gotten over the hump like they have, personally. And you talked about that defensive front, that D-line. There's a lot of guys to watch, a lot of names that you said. But I was very intrigued watching Michael Hoyt coming back from injury, how quick he came back from that Achilles tear. And he's already back slapping the bag and running at full speed just as well as everyone else. He had the same explosion coming off the ball too. Where does he kind of fit in? I mean, we could go on for hours and hours talking about all the pieces that could potentially go in that spot. But he's a guy where it's like, okay, is his hand going to be in the dirt? Is he going to be standing upright with Bradley Chubb at outside linebacker? There's so many spots you can use him, and he's such a good athlete as well. Added some weight too. So that is a particular name that I am most interested in seeing on that brand new 3-4 front.
And Bean saying he's a guy you have to hold back.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be 100% teamwork, let's go full go. And this is where the training staff is saying, slow your roll. We're still going to continue to build you up. But it is encouraging to me, and I say this all the way back to what we saw in very limited fashion at the end of minicamp, to see him more ahead of the schedule than I thought he would be. I think it's very reasonable to think he could be in the mix week number 1. Linebacker is an interesting position. You still have Terrell Bernard slowly ramping up, not getting full work here. Dorian Williams missed the spring with an injury. He's slowly coming back into the fold. It's opening the door for other players like Caleb Elarms-orr, who is someone that I think is arguably in like a short list of most intriguing players that I have my eye on in camp throughout the preseason, not just as a depth piece, but with the uncertainty of the availability of either of those two guys in Bernard or Williams. The rookie could find his way onto the field a heck of a lot more than we thought.
Well, think about the guys who played significant snaps for the Bills last year at defense. You have Terrell Bernard, but Matt Milano's not here anymore. Shaq Thompson was maybe the best Bills linebacker last season. He's not here anymore, so there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of snaps to be consumed by the players still on this roster. And you made the point about how Joe Brady is maybe this part of a wave of coaches in the new NFL. I think Caleb Elarms-orr is one of the wave of new linebackers in the NFL, guys that are fast, physical, can cover space very well, and he seems a guy who, for a rookie, processes the defense and what he's learning very quickly. You don't see him out there sort of hesitating that much. He sort of walks out there with the confidence of a guy who's already been in the league a lot. And that's something that Joe Brady even talked about earlier in the spring, that just the way he commands himself in the huddle and sort of the bark that he has and everything is that of a veteran. And I think that's sort of the characteristics that you look for a guy in that specific type of position, not just on defense, but at that linebacker position. So I think that he's a guy that, especially on defense, I think that we would all agree we're most excited to see just because of the unknown of what he could be. Is it something where he flashes in the spring, flashes early part of training camp, but once we get to the preseason, he starts to make mistakes in terms of a gap assignment or something like that? Or is it something where maybe Joe Andreessen a couple preseasons ago, where as the games progress, we actually start to be more impressed by him and what he shows when he's on the field?
I think you said a word that is the biggest characteristic for me with Caleb Elarms-orr. At his age, he's a rookie in the NFL, is the confidence. He rolls out there like he's a veteran. I mean, he rolled out there with the ones, again, filling in for those two inside linebackers who are still kind of dealing with those injuries. He blended right in, communicating well, and something with this draft class, too, that he is a part of from this recent draft in 2026. Brings the thud, too. We're not wearing full pads just quite yet. Just even on the bags alone, even when we're going 50% speed, you can kind of see the little, like, this guy might be made of concrete. Like, and I love seeing guys like that. Brandon Beane mentioned today, too, positionless guys, and you brought that up, kind of the new wave linebacker. Versatility. That's what he's all about. He can be in pass coverage. You can maybe be cheeky and bring him off the edge, and he can bring the speed and, again, bring the thump. Either way, he's going to bring you that assurance and confidence. I could just tell that from day one.
I like Keontae Jenkins, too. I don't know if there's a spot or a path, unless someone is injured, that he makes the team, but he was out there next to Elarms-orr, and I think he's someone that, again, an under-the-radar, lesser-known guy that I think could potentially be in the mix. You go to cornerback, we're going to talk about Max Harrison. We're going to talk about Davison Igbinosun. Nothing really to get into after day one. You're going to go back to the safety. Cole Bishop is out there. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is someone that, whether it's through Twitch streams or whatever he's saying afterwards, you just see the personality, and they seem to be happy with where he's at and don't think he's straight out of the lines just quite yet, but I think you could see that now there's this personality. It's like you're on the rodeo here, and it's you're going to hold on, and you like it. You like the ride. They think it's important, but you can also see a path where maybe it can become a distraction. It hasn't yet, though.
Training camp a likely place to see that, because today, not in pads. It's a cool, gloomy day with the rain. What's going to happen once they are out there in pads and it's an 85-degree day that's sunny, hot, and humid? They're jarring at each other. They've been practicing against each other for 7 practices, right? And tempers flare a little bit. You think of, there's guys on offense with that personality. You think of a guy like Alec Anderson,
He
right?
got kicked out of camp last year.
Josh Allen, not necessarily going to get in a fight, but Josh Allen certainly not afraid to bark in a guy's face, a guy to do some trash talking. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the guy on the opposite side of the field who kind of brings that kind of fire and ice element, that kind of equal element on the other side of the ball. So you could easily envision a scenario where on a hot day, when they've been going at it for a while, that there might be a scenario where there's a dust-up. And again, training camp, it's not unusual to see those types of things happen once, twice, even 3 times.
I want to get your thought, because Josh Allen, unprovoked, a company man, coming to the aid of the nickel city uniform hate at the end of his press conference today. We actually haven't really discussed it because I was off. I just got back. But I do have a sense that maybe we are not all in agreement with our level of feelings on them. Where do you stand on the Nickel City unis?
I think I am the black sheep of Western New York. I have yet to see anyone that slightly agrees with me that they're not bad. Guys, they're not that bad. There's really no reason to have that much hate about them. They're not offensive to the point to where you are shouting colorful language and being like, blow up the team. We shouldn't even have these uniforms. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I would say I don't love them. I think I will agree with you that a lot of the reaction has been over the top. At the end of the day, they're just uniforms, and if they win in them, people are going to like them a little bit more. The same way with the rivalry uniforms from last year. A lot of people thought they were cool. They lose. All of a sudden, people are superstitious. They don't want to use them anymore, right? So I think there's a lot of that element. I think the gray is just a little bit dull. But I think there is also an element of, let's wait to see what they look like under the lights at the new Highmark Stadium. Uniforms always look a little bit different. I think back to my time in college at the University of Florida, the Gators released these gator skin uniforms that looked absolutely hideous in the UF bookstore.
That's
and then
objectively bad.
They were objectively bad. And on the field, they also looked bad, but they looked significantly less bad on the players and in action and everything. So I think that might be something that by the end of it all, we come to say, yeah, they were bad. They weren't that great. Were they as bad as we maybe made them out to be in the first place? Maybe not. Again, the jersey itself, I think, looks like something that you would buy at a Ross or at a Marshall's on clearance or anything, but it's a lot different on you, me, or Nate than it is on Josh Allen out at Highmark Stadium.
Speak for yourself. I've been putting in the work on my parental leave, carrying 2 different kids around. Actually, I think the helmet is the worst part. I think it kind of looks cartoonish. I don't care about the connection in the back. I know that's an issue for people here. I agree with your assessment of it looks like a clearance item. That's a knockoff you'd get from a foreign country. I don't like it. I just thought it was hilarious that Josh Allen, again, out of left field after 15, 20 minutes of talking, is like, can we stop the hate on these uniforms? He's getting paid not just to be a quarterback, but to be a good company man, a company soldier in the front of things.
He's got a career in PR after this football thing.
He does. He's now PR, dad, quarterback, all of it. He's got all of it on there. Bills, again, 8:30 a.m. practices throughout their time up here in Fisher. The team is actually staying here even on days that there's not availability and there's not open practices here. So they're going to be here for the next week and a half. If you want to get some idea of maybe where you think the roster is, I did my best, and it was not easy to do a 53-man roster projection before training camp began. Some interesting things. I'll give you a little tease. I have Javon Solomon not making the team. I didn't like it, but that's just kind of how it tends to go. So you can check that out on WGRZ.com. With Nate Mills, Jonathan Acosta, I'm John Scott for Channel 2 Sports.